Good morning, America. Good evening, India. This is Shan Shankaran, right from Chicago with Sam Pitroda on 32 episode of Sense with Sam. Today we are going to discuss about the broadcast bill. I'll quickly hand it over to Sam for a quick introduction.
Thanks, Sean. Greetings, everyone. Sean happened to be in Chicago for some technical conversations, so I requested him to join me. It's early morning here. We are in the basement, and we thought we do it together. This program has been going on for 32 weeks. First of all, thank you all for your support, your interest. It's not easy to have a program every week with large number of people to have a broader conversation. So I sincerely appreciate your interest. And I hope we can continue this in the future. Sometimes we have interesting topics. Sometimes we don't have very interesting topics. But you all make it interesting with your questions, with your participation, with your comments. So I always look forward to your input and advice on what is that we should discuss. And Sean told me today that we would like to discuss this new bill. Just to go back in the history, during Narasimha Rao's government, I used to work for the Prime Minister as advisor. And he called me one day along with my colleague, Dr. Ann Ravi, and said, can you put together something on broadcast bill? This was probably 95, around that time. Those were the days when we were also really trying to come to grips with the cable TV, because a lot of cable TV networks are mushrooming in the country. And there were no standards, there was no sort of clear direction. So we worked on it. That bill then was presented, discussed, debated as always. And now we are told that that bill is being revised. So we have seen some revision put on the table in 2023. However, that particular document has been taken back and being circulated for input from selected group of people. And as a result, it becomes very difficult to discuss this document because we really don't know what is in the document. We are told that it is for consultation with probably 5 big industry groups. And as a result, until those people comment on it, until government comes out with another document, it is going to be difficult to have a real conversation. But the larger issue is the trend in the country and all over the world. Today, the trend is, on one hand, to control information, to really screen and be a watchdog, which was a little bit easier in the television days, where broadcast really meant broadcast from a central location where selected group of people speak. But on social media, broadcast imply that large number of irresponsible people also speak. They have no credentials to be a journalist. They don't check their facts. They twist facts, create misinformation campaign, and it is very difficult to filter those kinds of inputs or messages. It is possible to some extent, but it is not assured as we could do it in the past in a real broadcast system where television stations were responsible for broadcasting. So in a distributed network, which is basically social media, where everyone is journalist and has a right to comment on everybody else, it becomes very, very difficult. I personally know it because I've been attacked many times through trolls, misinformation, still going on, where people put two and two together and come up with a different answer. It's not 4 for them, it is 450 for them. How do we deal with them? And that's going to be the challenge in this bill. But it will put people on notice. It will put social media on notice. Like many other bills, idea may be very good, but the execution would be very difficult. How do you control millions and millions of people saying whatever they want to say? And how do you hold social media platforms responsible for it when it is, by design and definition, a distributed media where everybody has right to say whatever they can say within certain limits? So these kinds of bills can be misused as well by government and by platform people. This is becoming a major challenge all over the world. You look at elections right now in the US and how social media and AI and many new technologies are shaping public opinion. And the amount of money being spent on these things is absolutely unreal. So because of all of this, elections have become too expensive. You are constantly bombarding your potential voter more as a customer to buy something. It has become a marketing gimmick as opposed to a responsibility to guard your democracy or your government. Everybody wants to sell you something, sell you candidates, sell you candidates' ideas, sell you, opinions, and it has become a big, big industry. In many of these areas, until we go to fundamentals related to what does democracy mean? What is leadership all about? How do we find our own truth? Do we vote on issues or you vote on values, characters? Do you vote for individuals or you vote for parties? All of these are becoming very complex issues because of social media and varied public opinion. So I think broadcast bill, which is essentially aiming at holding social media people responsible for the content they publish, is going to be very, very complicated. because you just don't have control. You may do it after the fact that somebody has published something which is not acceptable. Today, there are some standards as to pornography, foul language, and few other things, photographs, nudity. Maybe when AI becomes more powerful, it'll be a little easier. But it is antithesis to the whole idea of free flow of information. Ultimately, people will have to be responsible. And I hope that in the AI era, we create responsible citizens. Today, people are totally irresponsible. They have no shame in attacking others. They think it is their profession to get publicity to attack anybody without any information. You can Google 5 things and say, oh, I've done a lot of research. And we live in an era where you have to find your own truth. A message about XYZ can come in 5 different forms from 200 different people. And you got to make judgment of your own as to what is right, what is wrong, what is fair, what is unfair, what is true, what is lie. And that's not easy. So the bill, I'm sure, will be debated, discussed in the parliament, and hopefully people will navigate it through the system properly to make sure that it is meaningful. With this background, we can open up for a broader conversation. But remember, we live in platform era. Platform eras give us a lot of flexibility. If you cannot speak on A, you can go speak on B. If you can't speak on B, you go speak on C. If you can't represent through text, you represent through videos, cartoons, in Windows, and you can do all kinds of things. So let's have some input from you all. Thank you. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you, Sam.
Thank you. Priyamvada, is she there?
No, actually today she has some personal things, so
Okay.
she took a break. So I have a small presentation kind of collected with one of the organizations help, Internet Freedom Foundation. They are a champion in this. They are based in India too, and they are championing this since even the previous version of the bill 2023. So they are talking about 3 important things on the draft bill 2023 and the revised version 2024. So the primary contention is there were 5 closed door meetings which were conducted on the 2023 bill, and it's not made public who's participating in those, and no representation from public stakeholders were invited by Ministry of Information and Broadcasting. And the people are worried that the fundamental rights may be impacted because of this. And as you correctly said, the Cable TV Act, which in 1995, which you might have formulated or helped to formulate P.V. Narasimha Rao's government, is the one which is being revised. And now, additionally, this OTT, the over-the-top content and the digital news content are trying to be brought under this new regulation. And also, there is going to be a financial compliance burden on each and every content creator. I am a content creator. Now there is a new financial and compliance burden on me. So, and this overbroad oversight is expected, and there was no publishing of the comments already invited on the draft 2023 bill. So, which is also concerning. So, on what basis this 2024 revised version is being put in place is a concern of the community, which Internet Freedom Foundation have documented. And also, the changes, the reported changes, for example, news and current affairs is brought under this. So that means any content creator who's kind of even creating a small content reporting about happening, so also may come under this. And there is a additional text verbiage used for text. So that means even if we share a text message on a current affair or news, we also may come under as even a, we may be a public common citizen, but if we are sharing, we may become a content creator, and we may be coming under this regulations purview. So, and the interventions what the organizations and the civil society has taken is, they are trying to create a lot of awareness. So, and requesting Ministry of Information and Broadcasting to release the comments on the draft 2023 provided by the civil society, and also inform the the privately held meetings seeking comments. And also the revised version is kept in very confidential manner, it is not opened up for public consultation. They should also make a plan for seeking public comments on this revised version, a timeline, consultation, duration mechanism, all this should be established. Right now it's a big lacuna, and it's kind of completely open charter, which is creating concerns for everybody in the civil society. Code of content, content policing, kind of a new verbatim in this regulation. This created a lot of fear, and people are uh, worried about this, the commentator aspect, the IFF, the V and U, whether all of us are going to come under this scope while we are kind of publishing the news and current affair information. And also the penalty being levied is also going to create problems for all the platform companies, and it is going to work against the safe harbor guidelines of the world, because right now somebody is publishing something on Twitter or Facebook, those platform aggregators doesn't need to take onus, except the onus of removing the content if it is a kind of something against the country's regulation. So right now there is a penalty for them also by this, so which is also worrisome. So people are expecting to see how they can streamline bunch of this to the code of conduct and the code of content policing, all of this. And they have created a new hashtag kill the bill. And if you see a lot of this famous Twitterati, they have been speaking about it, and they're trying to see even a tweet also can brought under this regulation. And Dr. Med USA, one of another famous content creator, everybody is trying to work together as a community, liberal community, and trying to appeal to Ministry of Information and Broadcasting. And they are seeing this as a equivalent to CAA and farm laws to some extent, and they want this transparency to be established. And see, in fact, people have made appeal to Rahul Gandhi as a leader of opposition. And there are kind of people are thinking that there are secret changes which are made, and there may be YouTubers, Instagrammers who may be brought under this. So there are a lot of call to action, hashtag content bachao, hashtag kill the bill, hashtag stop broadcast bill is the three hashtags through which they are raising a lot of call to actions. So,
But Sean,
yeah,
platform companies will do everything possible, spend all the money required for lobbying and all, to make sure that they don't wind up getting added responsibility of filtering and getting caught in the middle. Because it's very difficult for them to monitor this, So government may want something which may be difficult to accomplish. Okay. So we'll see.
you have written a lot about the interconnected world, Sam, in your books.
Yeah.
How are you seeing? So now the world is
See,
becoming.
I have always, for last 30, maybe 40 years, talked about the fact that information brings about openness, accessibility, connectivity, networking, democratization, decentralization. Now, each one of these words mean a lot more than what people realize. Ultimate objective of information revolution is to empower people, is to free me, liberate me, educate me, empower me to live my life to the fullest with dignity, respect, to be able to do whatever I want to do, whosoever I want to interact with. And then when government comes in and puts roadblocks, saying, oh, you can't do this, you can't do that, you are this caste, you are that religion, it is counter thesis to information empowerment. But in the process, you have a lot of people who are not quite equipped to handle knowledge, to handle information. So we have to go through this transition. This transition may be 25 years. But when I look at younger generation, I find that they're good with information. But how do we train them to be better citizen is a challenge. I always ask this question, how come I did turn out to be what I turned out to be, whatever that is? And my, classmate who was equally good, even smarter, did something wrong and went to prison, or did succeed, is not happy. Okay. So I think information really, to me, should be able to empower everybody. Everybody should understand what is fair, what is unfair. Everybody should follow certain standards of dignity, respect. Everybody should focus on non-violence. And unless and until that kind of society is created out of connectivity, we are not going to take human civilization to the next level. And my biggest concern right now is all technology is only used for productivity, efficiency, cost reduction, profit, and not for betterment of people or planet. But then, I'm in minority. Okay. People are busy making money, and they only want to listen to people who have money. They don't want to listen to people who have ideas, who have morals. So what do you do? Hopefully, it will take 20, 25 years for this wisdom to spread. And then everybody will feel empowered because of knowledge.
Redesign the world, global call to action. So you have written a lot about the new kind of regulators or even government agencies which should be replacing this United Nations. How do you see in an ideal world there should be a global entity which can also provide guidelines around this, instead of European Union have their own thing, and North America have their own stuff, and India is completely orthogonal and we are doing our own stuff?
I do a lot of interesting things. Recently there was big halagulla about my starting global knowledge initiative in Washington and what it does. It's all bogus. It's all lies. Uh, but one of the things, or two of the things I do related to what you said, Sean, one is a group out of Paris and London and global group where we are working on uh, looking at global constitution. See, we should all agree to some fundamentals, irrespective of which country we belong to, which religion we follow. And those fundamentals relate to how we treat other human beings, how we treat our environment. Those are the two main issues. Okay. can we really deal with our environment in a manner that our children and grandchildren and their children will have better life? Or we want to cut all the trees and pollute all the rivers and mess everything up so that when they inherit, they will inherit polluted world? And two, how do we deal with our fellow human beings? I think these are the two fundamental issues. If we can collectively agree at a global level on global constitution, that's a starting point. Then you can add to that your own personal nuances that you want to add. India, China, US, Europe, Africa can, Asia, Middle East can add their own nuances, saying this we agree to, and this is our own way of living. That's one main aspect. And two, you need some kind of global governance. Doesn't mean United Nations, doesn't mean another big lobby or bureaucracy, but it means a group of respected people who network and really decide on what is good for this planet and what is good for people.
Like ITU?
ITU is just on a telecom, okay, but you need domain experts deciding on energy, water, on environment, education, health. Today, politicians take over and domain experts have very little role to play. But everything has become so complex that domain experts need to participate. In all governments, you will find that domain experts are sidelined. They're only asked for their opinion. And then politicians go do whatever they want to do because they think they have a license from the people to decide. I mean, look at the global warming. Domain experts have been saying these things for a long time. And politicians have not paid attention. And that's why we are in a mess.
There are Trumps and Elon Musk completely
Yeah.
nullifying environmental social
So
governance.
you got to draw a line somewhere. And domain experts need to be respected. They may be wrong at times or once in a while, that's okay. But if 50 top global experts on environmental issues tell us that we got to do something, we better pay attention, and not pay attention to what politicians are saying. So these two areas, the third interesting area I'm working on, Sean, is with a group of people in Africa. I'm working on at least trying to put together a Marshall Plan for Africa. Okay. And these are issues of global concern. What do I have to do with it? Nothing.
You think the United Nations kind of body, which is supposed to be doing this, is irrelevant anymore? And
No, I think UN was created for something else, and it has no teeth anymore. If UN was really powerful, you wouldn't have war in Ukraine. You wouldn't have war in, Palestine. Okay. Look at the Palestine issue has been going on for as long as UN has been in existence. Okay, almost. What have we done? There are 20 wars going on today in the world. With UN around, why is that happening? Because UN has no power. US and others just decide to create a situation, partly because of the military industrial complex. I mean, look at the gun laws in America. Yes, we all know the issues. It's not rocket science. You don't need to be highly intellectual to understand these issues. This is very simple, and a lot has been written and a lot of experts have raised their voice, and you got to respect them, you know. And you can't start with saying, I know everything. Yeah. So, should we hear some questions or
Sure.
comments?
Yes. Prasanna is asking about how can we find a balance between controlling social media content for national interest and preserving freedom of expression without falling under the excessive government scrutiny.
See, this national interest thing to me is something we need to all pay attention to. What is national interest? Everybody says national interest, security, all that. To me, more important is human interest. Okay. Are we doing justice to people in any country? Okay. What governments do today in the name of national interest, security, all that, put all kinds of clamps. Okay. It's like saying I have enemy at the border all the time. Okay. So my attention get diverted. Okay. You got to live with neighbor. It's given to you. You can't change those, you know, boundaries. We have drawn those boundaries. So let's respect it. Okay. So national interest could get very complicated. First, we should really look at human interest. Okay. Are the social medias hurting people? Whether it is one group of people, another group of people, and it all ultimately boils down to dividing society. It boils down to, you know, religious issues, belief issues. Okay. That's a good start, according to me. Are we respectful of others with different viewpoint? Yeah. And if not, there'll be conflict. Yeah.
There is another question. The broadcasting bill could affect the and bring a broad range of social media users under scrutiny. How should it be addressed and opposed this before it's introduced in Parliament? Leave it to lobby groups and wait and watch, or what as an opposition, Congress or even India Alliance can do?
Well, I think first we need a broader conversation. We need public debate on these things, not just in the parliament. Okay. And not just on television with, these media anchor people who are already biased and have very little knowledge and they think they are the ultimate in wisdom. Okay. Because I find that they don't listen. Okay. I mean, I had a recent interview with some lady in some, and she was, with all respect to her, okay, she had already her opinion about who I am and what I should do. Arabi, you are there to help moderate this session and not promote your opinion as to who I am and why do I keep long hair or beard or whatever.
You try to put their word into your mouth.
Yeah, no, they just say that this is what you are saying when you are not saying anything. So it's a very noisy environment. It's a very polluted environment. Yeah. And it can only improve if people improve. If people don't improve, it will remain like that. Okay. The other day I had a call 2-3 days ago about inviting me to some discussion. I said, who is the anchor person? And they said this. I said, no, thanks. Okay. I have no intention, because I know that it won't work. Won't work for her and won't work for me or him. Thanks. So it's tough. We are going through very difficult time globally. And you have seen what happens in India, what happens in US, what happens in Europe. The world is in transition. And this transition has to do with information age. People are not appreciating that we are going through a turmoil because information has become a commodity in a sense, or information is empowering people or information is freely available. You know, I mean, you go on Chat GPT and the kind of things you can do is just mind boggling, absolutely mind boggling. Okay.
Can write books.
You can do all kinds of things, just get the right question
Context and
and,
framing.
immediately you'll be able to read a PhD thesis on something, you know. See, if I want to understand today about some very delicate issue, if I do Google search, I'll have to go through, 500 documents before I reach on to some meaningful information. With ChatGPT, boom, I can zero in. And it's very powerful. How do I use it? How do I change my, way of doing things because of that? Yeah. So it's going to be challenging.
How this advent of this new technologies like AI can help in this the information world, Sam? Kind of one side, the Western world, Silicon Valley is reaching to the next horizons with this artificial intelligence. Where in India we are trying to kind of become a censor nation through bringing some secrecy shrouded these kind of broadcast bills. Where are you seeing how we can kind of bridge this gap?
We have to recognize fundamentals, and that is information brings about openness. Finish. Okay. So my life is an open book. Okay. Now you can make things out of it and complicate it. But if you want to find out who I am, what my family is, where my home is, where did I work, everything is open. What do I do? Where do I go? So what is that I need to hide? Okay. There may be some personal issues of interest to me, which you may not agree to, which is okay. But my life is an open book. You can find out about my tax, whatever you want. When I say me, I mean for everybody. I'm not saying just for me. So we will have to recognize that our life is an open book. Government will have to recognize that government is an open book. They can't cheat anymore. Okay, they can't bribe anybody because it'll be laid out who got which money in which bank account.
Yeah, electoral bonds, it's all around. So
Everything is transparent. Okay, so the beauty of this information age is that you can't hide. Okay, you better change your style. Today we have the old style and new tools. Okay, I give you one example. I have a friend, Chris, in New York, and Chris uh, was with me once in New York at a restaurant. We went to a pretty expensive French restaurant, and the bill for two of us was $500. This was probably 15 years ago. And Chris paid $500 cash. I said, Chris, why? Why aren't you using credit card? He said, no, if I use credit card here, they'll consider me a resident of New York. And they did that 2 years before that. And he had to pay a lot of tax because he ate every evening in New York, but he lived in Connecticut. So government said, no, you are a resident of New York. So the message was that when I use my credit card, I'm being tracked. You know exactly how many times I had Chinese food and how many times I had Italian food. So what can I do? You know?
Sam, I see this whole broadcast bill as a challenge for freedom of speech. You live in America, or we live in America, so which is epitome of uh, freedom of speech. You also follow Gandhi as a role model or your inspiration for life. So, what do you think even Gandhian ideals? How we can protect this freedom of speech in India?
You have to speak. If you don't speak, you don't have freedom of speech. If you're afraid, if you're a coward, you won't speak. You need courage. Gandhiji used to say that one of the most important thing you need in life is courage. Look at the amount of courage Rahul Gandhi has shown against all the odds. And the poor guy is harassed like you cannot imagine. Okay, from everybody.
They're trying to do an enforcement directorate now.
Everything, taken his house away to, get him out of the parliament, to file 24 court cases. And some court cases are just unreal. I have seen it. I mean, he has been charged for rape. Okay, they're all bogus. They know it's bogus. We know it's bogus. Court knows it's bogus. But you got to go through that machinery. So you have to have courage to speak the truth. The idea is not to hurt anybody. The idea is to bring truth in forefront. Okay. And without courage, you can't protect your freedom. There is a price to be paid. If you are not willing to pay the price, you don't get the freedom. It's like democracy. If you are not willing to, you know, protect democracy, there won't be democracy. Okay. Are you willing to put in what it takes? You want to enjoy the fruits, but you don't want to go through the pain. It's not going to work. So, any questions?
Sure. You in your book you have written even about defunding military and police, or this kind of monitoring systems. So how can we work towards more decentralization? So this even bill is to some extent kind of people think it's a overboard, overbroad oversight is what people have clearly called it out. So, what do you think on that note? Why do you think that that can be guidelines, that can be kind of high level provisions to help people, but not very stringent regulations which can be become towards get to a censor kind of situation? So,
Well, let's see what it comes out, because still it's in transition. A lot of people are working on it. A lot of opinions are being sought after. So I wouldn't jump the gun. I would wait for the revised version, and then we all can have a detailed conversation. Okay, right now it is work in process, and what we are talking about is warnings. Okay, and I'm one of those who firmly believe always in fundamentals. Fundamentals in life keeps you grounded, whether it is about truth, trust, love, respect, dignity, democracy, diversity, inclusion. All of these words mean a way of living. Okay. Inclusion is inclusion. You got to respect everybody. You just don't go and ask people, what is your religion? What is your caste? What's your language? You don't do that. You find that out in the process and respect it. Okay. How can you expect everybody to be like you? So
we have 314 viewers, even though it's a complex topic, and maybe even a lot of things are shaping up. Still, we have a lot of active viewers all
thank
the
you.
time showing.
Thank you, everybody. But questions?
So I think
Comments?
I think we kind of don't have a lot of questions, and as we saw, it is people wanted to us to hear our viewpoints on this more, and I don't see any more questions.
But is it useful?
Yeah, I think people wanted to know our viewpoints, maybe whether we are standing with them on the civil society. They think that it's a challenge to freedom of speech. A lot of this, at least the content creators online.
Agree. We agree with you. I am all for freedom of speech. I believe we have right to express ourselves. I believe we have a responsibility as a citizen in democracy, and we have to keep debating, discussing, talking, arguing, but not fighting, not undermining somebody else, not cheating, not lying. And how do you build people with character? Today, there is a crisis of leadership in the world, and that crisis is all about character. I got a very interesting email 3 days ago from a friend of mine, um, Carlos Ross. Carlos Ross is a very famous man in Mexico, a good friend of mine. He was ambassador in Germany and all that, a politician, professor. And Carlos read my book on the idea of democracy. And he wrote a very long email to me. And he said, Sam, I really appreciate your writing a chapter on leadership. He said, I have been teaching leadership to business schools for last 20 years. But I never thought of leadership the way you presented in terms of Gandhian values. He said, I always saw leadership more for productivity, efficiency, cost reduction, improving profit, shareholder values, do it right, and all that. And he said, for the first time, I realized how wrong I am. Leadership is all about human dignity, respect, love. And he said, and he wrote a very interesting email. So immediately I responded saying, Carlos, let's have a conversation. So he and I had about half an hour talk, and we used to run a group every week in Mexico. That sort of went on for about a couple of years and died down. So he said, okay, now it's time to revive that group to have more conversation on leadership. So at the end of the day, in information age, everyone is a leader in their own way. You're a leader of your own destiny. And you got to create your fundamental values. If you believe in certain things, you got to have courage to speak up. And that's what this bill is about. Yeah. So everything is sort of ultimately relates to your fundamentals. What do you believe in? Do you believe in democracy or you believe in dictatorship? Do you believe in religious freedom? If you do, then don't ever ask anybody what is your religion. Love everybody. Let them do what they do. Okay? Or your nationality. Nationality does not imply that you have loyalty only to one country. You could have loyalty to multiple countries for different reasons, different aspects. It's okay. But when you say these things, people jump at you, saying, "Oh, you're wrong. This is not possible." So fine.
Age of global citizenships.
Yeah.
So Joseph Brito, our friend in LinkedIn, is saying India is at infant stage and present situation does not encourage citizens to discuss affairs. Civic society is almost defunct. Smart youngsters prefer to be silent and mind their own business and not get involved in politics or even to know what is happening in political sphere. Do you have any?
No, I think Mr. Brito is right. It is sad that people don't get involved. People have to get involved. And that's where courage comes in. You got to have courage to get involved. You can't be too selfish because ultimately you'll pay the price.
Thank you, Sam. I think that comes to an end.
Okay.
So there are a lot of interesting comments. Thanking you for sharing insights about this. So we have 328 viewers as we speak, and thanks to all of you for listening to such a complex topic. Despite it's many things are still moving. Thanks.
Okay,
Thanks.
great.
See you guys.
Look forward to seeing you next week.
Yeah, thank you. Hopefully, we'll be reviewing Trump versus Harris. There's a lot of interest, and also a lot of interest on even hearing about some of this India new.
But I would like more people to be active and participate and not have a broadcast.
Yeah.
I wanted more of an interaction.
Sure, sir.
Okay, so we got to arrange it so that people come on the screen and ask.
Yeah, I think the StreamYard has some limitations about having maybe five people on the.
No, that's okay. But even one person comes.
Yeah.
let's say there are 2 or 3 of us,
Yeah, yeah.
and the person who is asking question
Sure.
comes on the screen.
Sure,
I would like that.
sure.
Okay.
We'll try to rope in more. Since it was a complex topic, not
Yeah.
many people wanted to come forward.
Sure.
Thanks a lot. Looking forward to see you guys with another topic next week.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great.
Bye.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.